So this video is going to be a little different. I've talked to Bug about this a little bit, and I've had it on my mind for a little while. And the only word that comes to mind, I'm going to do a little bit of scripture. I'm sitting here in our wash shed. It's cold outside, kind of cold outside. So the wash shed's heated, and I don't have kids running around and stuff, so it's quiet out here, I guess. Other than I got cats and stuff running around on top of the shed, but I've been thinking about a few things I've been struggling with. I feel like what I do on a day-to-day basis, I keep feeling like it's not my calling. It's not what I'm called to be done. Even though, you know, I'd say I'm good at what I do. I'm not going to say I'm the best at what I do. I'm not going to say that I'm, you know, I just say I'm good at what I do from what I hear from other people. Because at anything, you could always be better at it. And a lot on my mind is I want to be better at something else. And a lot of it comes down to one word that I think of, and it's the word is uncomfortable. And I pray about it. I do. And even though a lot of times when you pray about something, you don't get a clear answer, you try to look for things. It's like, oh, hey, you know, I want an actual sign. But it, you know, it's not always there. So, and a lot of this is me trying to get out of my comfort zone. And it's not that I have a problem doing it. It's just, it's kind of like, you know, when you do something new, it's uncomfortable. Like when you switch to a new job, you know, you don't know the people, it's uncomfortable until you start to get to know the people. And, you know, you get to know them, you get to talking to them, you know, you start making friends, you know, stuff like that. Or doing things like going to a new church, or just doing new things that you wouldn't normally do that makes you uncomfortable. Other things it would be like being anxious, because you think about it, and then when you start thinking about it, your anxiety levels will go up, and then you're like, get real nervous, and you're like, I don't know if I can do it. You know, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't know if I can do it. I've had those moments where it's like, hey, I'd like to do this. I talk about wanting to do this, and, you know, I want to sit here and be like, hey, you know, this is what I want to do, but then I do nothing about it, which is frustrating, because it's like, I want to sit here and say, hey, I want things to change. I want to do this, but for me to be able to do it, I got to get uncomfortable. I got to stop letting my anxiety or my nervousness, my whatever, get a hold of me. Because a lot of times that's the devil tricking you, because it's like, especially like this, a lot of mine is like, I want to go to church. I want to participate in a lot of things, but I'm anxious about it. I get uncomfortable because it's like, oh man, I'm going to meet new people. I don't know what they're going to say about me. I don't know. And then it's like, that's not the reason I'm going. And I forget that. And a lot of the reason why that is is like your feelings. Your feelings come from the devil. You can't let the devil control what you're doing. And a lot of the times that's kind of how it is. You let your feelings get ahead of you, and it's really hard to get away from it until you start getting uncomfortable. And that's where I want to start at. And I've got some things here that I had on my mind. So like a couple verses here that I'd like to read. And this is part of me being or wanting to talk about, the Bible more. Because I do it at work. And a lot of the times I don't get the response that I would hope to get, but that's not the point of it. You're not always going to get a positive response, not from everybody, because I can sit and talk to somebody and preach to them about, what the Bible says and this and that, and a lot of mine is to some of the language I use isn't great, and I'm really trying to work on my language. But what gets me is when I preach the gospel, that bad language I have tends to disappear. If I'm in a room with people, godly people, that language tends to disappear. But when I'm in a room with, bad, foul language, my brain tends to trick me, and the problem is I'm not training my brain to get rid of that. But this one comes from Joshua 1, 8 and 9. And it says, "Study this book of the law continually. Meditate on it day and night, so you may be sure to obey all that is written in it. Only then you will succeed. I command you, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for that the Lord your God is with you everywhere you go." And a lot of the times I have to remind myself that. And Bug helps me with that sometimes. She gets on me a lot. I get on her. Get on each other's nerves a lot too. But I'll do things where it's like, I'll tell her, I'll say, hey, I want to do this. So then our church will have something come up, and it'll be like a Bible study for men. And she'll be like, oh, do you want me to sign you up for that? And then I'll be like, I don't know. I don't know, because that's my, okay, I'm going to be uncomfortable because I don't know these people. Well, yeah, you don't know them. But to get to know them, you have to get uncomfortable and go and talk to them and let them get to know you. And that's just kind of how I've been. Like I say, I just want to talk about it, get it out there. Let's see. This one's in Proverbs 3, 1 through 7. It says, "My child, never forget the things I have taught you. Store my commands in your heart, for they will give you a long and satisfying life. Never let loyalty and kindness get away from you. Wear them like a necklace. Write them down within your heart. Then you will find favor with both God and people, and you will gain a good reputation. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. seek his will in all you do, and he will direct your path. Do not be impressed with your own wisdom. Instead, fear the Lord and turn your back on evil. So that's kind of what I'm getting at is it's one of those things. It's like you're too worried about what other people are going to think about you. Too worried about how it's going to make you feel, how different things are going to be. And I felt this way, and I got really bad about it when we sold our house and we moved out here. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty stressed. I was moving to a new town, moving out into the middle of nowhere. I didn't know the area. I didn't know the people out here. I didn't know how things are. I didn't know the people at my new job. I kind of knew of some, just because I worked with a few people that knew some of the people over here, but I really didn't know them, and that can be very uncomfortable. You know, you don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to say something that doesn't impress somebody. But that's where my, being uncomfortable is like, so I put myself in situations where we'll talk about something, and then I always try to think of some sort of Bible verse for it. And I'll read a scripture or a verse from the Bible, and a lot of the times, like I said, I don't get the reaction that I'm looking for. And sometimes that could be pretty like, man, I'm trying to do what the Lord asking me to do, but I'm getting shut down. So for people who don't know, I'm a diesel mechanic. I work on ag equipment, and if anybody knows anything about mechanics, which I don't know why mechanics have this reputation, I guess it just comes with the job. A lot of foul language, a lot of anger, a lot of things that I don't like about being a mechanic. I love working on stuff, but it's one of them things, and a lot of mechanics, if you're watching this, you'll understand. A lot of frustration. Something doesn't work the way you want it to, or you're doing a job that just downright is not doing what you want it to do. Well, it sounds kind of like a lot like life. A lot of the times you're doing things that the Lord doesn't want you to do. And, and in that instance, the Lord gets frustrated with you. I mean, that's kind of the same instance. And a lot of mechanics will agree, like, you get frustrated, your anger, goes up, you get mad, you start cussing, you start saying things you're not supposed to be, saying things that you shouldn't say, and you kind of make yourself look like a fool. And I've learned over the years that getting mad about something and basically throwing a fit about it gets you nowhere. So a lot of times I try to separate myself from that situation. I walk away. Certain instances, as in let's say at home, because there's things at home that'll stress you out, make you mad. Kids could really make you mad. Doing things, breaking things, or just downright just certain things that set you off, and it's really hard to get away from that. But that's why I feel like I'm called to do something different, because I feel like what I'm doing is not what I want to be doing. To be able to get in a situation to where I want to be doing, to help control my anger. And I know, if I keep the Lord in mind, I could be a mechanic and still, still do my Bible, be in my Bible and do all this stuff. A lot of the times, though, it's like you have to separate yourself from the situation you're in. But Bug has also told me, like, well, maybe you should preach the gospel at work. And it's like, yeah, I could do that, but, it's like, it's not going to change anything. It's not going to help. Well, I don't know that if I don't try. So it's like, anytime I get a chance, I try to incorporate things, and I do. I get a couple people who actually listen, and sometimes I get that, oh wow, I can't believe you would know that, or I can't believe you researched that, or I can't believe. But it's like, you're always looking for that feeling like, oh my gosh, you're never going to get it. And I've got other ones that I will do that, and they'll stare at me, and it's basically like they're waiting for me to just stop talking, because they don't want to hear what I'm telling them. But it's also one of those things where it's like, it doesn't matter whether they want to hear it or not. As long as they hear it, somewhere in there, it's going to lock into their brain. And something down the road, if something happens, something might click in their head and say, hey, look, you remember that one time when this guy was saying whatever to you? Might want to look more into that. And I feel like that about basically everything, not just by Bible, whatever, because a lot of people are afraid to just say anything to anybody. Not saying that you should just go off and say whatever's on your mind, because sometimes whatever's on your mind aren't good things. But not really sure if I'm staying on topic or what, but it has to all to do with being uncomfortable. Because a lot of times there's things that you got to do in life that are uncomfortable, whether that's going up and talking to your boss, or going up and doing, or let's say in this instance, preaching the gospel. People don't want to preach the gospel because they don't want to be uncomfortable. They don't want to look like a freak. Well, there's a lot of people out there that do things that make them look like freaks, but they are very confident in what they're doing. Whether it's preaching the gospel or, I don't know, I'm not trying to say anything that's that's mean, but it just, you got to get uncomfortable and do what you got to do. This one's in Mark 16, and it's 15 through 17. It says, go into all the world and preach the good news to everyone. Everywhere, anyone who believes and is baptized will be saved, but anyone who refuses to believe will be condemned. These signs will accompany those who believe. They will cast out demons in my name, and they will speak a new language. So with the, go into all the world and preach good news to everyone, everywhere. That's kind of what, I was saying, like, in my instance, I'm a diesel mechanic. I work in ag, and I try to bring the gospel to what I do. Sometimes it's not always easy, but that's the whole point. Yeah, are some people going to look at me and be like, what is this dude doing? Like, you know, I'm out here just trying to work, you know, get this guy to work on my stuff, and he's out here preaching the gospel. Well, how else am I supposed to do it? You know, you can bring the gospel to into anything you do, whatever you're doing on a daily basis. You just got to figure out a way to do it. And there's that aspect of it. And there's times I'll tell Bug, I'll say, hey, you know, I feel like I should be doing something else. I don't want to work my job anymore. I want to do something else. And she'll be like, what do you want to do? I don't know. I just feel like that's not what I should be doing. And she's like, well, you can't quit. Because if I quit my job, what am I going to do? You know, I trust in the Lord and He'll guide me, but I can't just go off and do something and just think that everything's going to come out of thin air either. But I just got to trust in Him and let Him guide me, because it's a constant thing in my mind, like, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, well, Lord, show me. What do I need to do? I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to Granger Smith's podcast. I listen to Unashamed. And I try to listen to podcasts that help me, guide me to learning more about the Bible. Because I'll sit there and say, you know, the way my job consists of me, like, I have to, they call it like going back to school. I have to do classes. I have to go in, I have to enroll in these classes that help train me to become a better certified, better mechanic for certain types of machines that I work on. Which is great and all. But I struggle with it, because it's like, I don't need to go to school to tell me what I already know. And then I'll sit there and say, man, I want to learn more about the Bible. Well, you kind of have to learn the same way. You have to do your research. I don't know. I can sit here and tell you that I don't know everything about mechanics. I don't. I know a lot. I don't know everything. I just feel like I'm getting pulled away from that and being put somewhere else. And it makes me uncomfortable. Because it's like, I am used to being a mechanic. I've done it, I say, my whole life. I'm not that old, but I've been at least doing it for, let's see, I think 18 years. Well, as far as a job mechanic wise, I've been doing it my whole life. So I grew up with a dad that owned his own shop. Grew up in working on small engines, and just at this point I've worked on just about anything and everything. I say anything and everything, I mean, I've worked on a lot of stuff. I haven't worked on everything, but just leave it at that. Another one is in Philippians 4, 6 and 7. I gotta find my place here. Says, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all that He has done. If you do this, you will experience God's peace, which is far more wonderful than the human mind can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. So there's where, I'm saying, like, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. And that's where I have troubles at, is I struggle with, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing, but then I sit there and I'll complain about it. I'll put it that way. And then I don't ever pray about it. And I forget to tell myself that. And it's hard because worldly things will get you distracted from doing what's right, and it's frustrating because it's like, man. Another one I listened to, his name's Dwayne, from Dry Creek Wrangler School, and I've said before, like, man, I wish I had the wisdom he has. I wish I had the knowledge, like, that he's got. The only way I'm going to get to that is to be able to do it and research and know it myself. And the only way to let other people know is to tell people. And the only way to get through the struggles is to not to worry about it, but pray about it. The other thing is there's times that we forget to thank God for what He's already done for us. Because there's times that I forget that it's like, man, we've prayed and prayed and prayed, and we've struggled because it's like, oh my goodness, we wanna leave this house. We thought we just lived a miserable life when we didn't appreciate what He has given us. Because we were like, oh man, we don't like this house, we don't like this land, we want more land, we want more of this, we want more of that. And it's like, man, we're always looking for more. Because I had that thought when we were finally able to move, and it's like, oh, God's finally hearing us. Well, no, it wasn't He's finally hearing us, He heard us. We just weren't ready yet. He wasn't. He said, no, not right now. Y'all need to work on other things before we hit this step. He's got a plan for you. You just got to allow Him to guide you and trust Him to guide you. Yeah. It might take a while. He hears your prayers. He's listening. But we get to that point, it's like, well, godly things come quicker, worldly things come quicker because it's right in front of you, right? Give it to me right now. Well, yeah, that's the easy way to go. But you gotta get uncomfortable. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would be doing it. Wouldn't be such a big deal. But it's time to get uncomfortable. We moved out here. He blessed us with this land. He blessed me to be able to work the land, because that's all I can say about it, is it's a blessing. You know, that I'm able to work the land, be able to build our house with my own two hands, and I'll sit here and complain. I get those I complain. I get those moments where it's like, oh, I'm working with this 1900 dirt tractor. It's so inconvenient, you know, and I'm like, and I'm not realizing the hey, I got a tractor. This thing will do whatever I want it to. But then, you know, it's like, oh, you know, it's breaking down, it's old, it's wore out. Well, God blessed me with a tractor. Whether it's old, whether it's new, it doesn't matter. I worry, you know, you worry about worldly things like, oh, I gotta have a new tractor to be able to do what I need to have a new this or a new that to be able to do, and you're not focused on, well, what do I have that I can utilize what I have. You don't think about, you know, back in the day, people didn't have tractors. When they built houses, they dug things by hand. Not saying that, you know, you have to do that, but it's like, it's also humbling to me. It's like, man, people used to dig ditches with a shovel and not a backhoe. It's like, wow. Huh. Wonder what that was like. But guess what? I'm gonna find out. Because I'd rather do that, take my time, kind of struggle a little bit, just to know what it's like. This last passage is also in Philippians 4:13. It says, "For I can do everything with the help of Christ, who gives me the strength I need." Wow. Pray to God. We just got done watching a TV series. Can't wait till season 5 comes out. But it's called The Chosen. Talks a lot about what happened in the Bible, as far as when Christ entered the earth till which season 5 hasn't come out yet. We haven't got to that part of the death, but the struggle people had, the followers of Jesus. The struggle of Jesus himself. The struggle of God coming down to earth in human form and having those feelings. Mourning the death of people that he knew. Mourning that he knew that he was going to have to die on the cross. But he knew that it was for a purpose. Jesus died on the cross for our sins, to pay our debt. And I don't think that's said enough and repeated enough, that Jesus Christ walked on this earth. He had preached the gospel. He preached it to people who were God-fearing people, who were priests and ministers and whatever else. They would preach the gospel. He would show them the miracles and preach to them and tell them that he was the Messiah, and they refused to believe it. And that's how people are nowadays. They refuse to believe it. I don't want to be one of those people and live my life refusing to believe that Christ died on the cross for my sins. He sees everything we do every day. He knows that we've done wrong. And when you get to Judgment Day and you have to look at him in the face, and he's going to say, well, did you sin? Yes, sir, I did. And I'm not proud of it. Everybody sins. Everybody's a sinner. Nobody's better than anybody. And once, you know, you start to realize that, because, you know, I've had a lot of times where people tell me, you know, man, you're a great mechanic, you know what you're doing. I try not to take that as much of a compliment, because it's like, thanks, you know, I'm just here to do my job. You know, that's how I want to be with this. I'm here to do my job. I want to do the best at what I can do. And the only way to do that is to do it. Get uncomfortable. So, I've probably talked long enough. I want to know your comments. I do. I'd love to see your comments, good or bad. And I think from now on, when I have thoughts on my mind, I want to try to do this. I want to try to just talk about them. A lot of the times it kind of helps people. You have somebody to talk to, or do it like this. Talk to a camera, and, you know, rewatch it. You know, watch yourself, because then you can see kind of how, you know, how it is. Because it makes you uncomfortable to talk about things like that. You know, especially to somebody else. So, that's my take on it. And like I said, I'd love to see your comments. But yeah, that's what I've got to say for now. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, thanks for watching. God bless you.